This video is for you if you are a B2B seller or B2B team leader. I am going to give you 3 tips that came from a conversation I had with a client today. So the client was saying that I'm responsive. I'm very responsive. Even though I set expectation that I would respond within 24 to 48 hours, I know that business moves at the speed of light. And most people that come on board that want one-to-one advisory versus group coaching, part of what they're looking for is actual responsiveness. They don't want to wait until next Thursday at 9 a.m. to ask their question and get an answer, hopefully. They don't want to wait for someone to respond in the group setting that may or may not be the leader or the group leader, right? So they really want to have access to the group leader's brain. And they also want to have it in a prompt manner because they're trying to respond to their prospective buyer. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 things that I think are really important to do in terms of setting expectations. And I'm going to give you the categories. So I think it's super, super important to set an expectation in time, right? So response times. So if you know that your organization has a challenge responding within 24 hours, okay, that's kind of a standard B2B type of thing. Within 24 hours, you should say that up front. Let your client know that whatever your structure looks like, that responses come in about 48 hours. It could be that you have to go to 3 other people or another team. That's not the ideal way in today's environment, but who's to say it doesn't exist out there? So you'll want to set expectations around response time with your buyer. It will help you in the trust category. It will let them know that they can depend on you, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The second thing that we want to set expectation with is we'll stay in the same space of response, right? You'll also want to set expectation around where you're going to respond. There are so many channels you can respond to that I typically, and I think most follow the rule of wherever you responded, that's where I'm going to respond. So if you responded via email, I'm going to respond via email. If you responded via text, I'm going to respond via text. Now, we all know that text is probably not the ideal way to kind of keep track of what's happening. Email would probably be better. And what would be better than that would be some type of management tool, whether you use, a Notion or any of the other tools out there for response and project management, a Google Doc, right? I mean, any of these things can be helpful, but the key to this is to set expectation around where the response will come from. So you happen to be on LinkedIn, you ask them a question, they don't see it because they're not on LinkedIn the same way sellers are. And all of a sudden, a week and a half goes by, and you think, oh, I should email them. And you're like, but they didn't respond on LinkedIn. You've got to know, like, if they're actually looking for a response in email or via their text messages. And I think email text is similar. Some people don't dive into their email box, but they do have their phones, and they would welcome the opportunity to respond quickly and get matters resolved on the phone. So that's the second piece. Response time, set expectation so that you can surprise and delight. The second piece is you'll also want to set expectation around where's the best place to reach you and get response and update you and all of the things. Okay. Don't hesitate to lead the way in that area. So if you happen to know that there is a best channel, if they're able to connect into it, then I would say this has worked really well. If you're able to connect into it, great. We can set things up there. And if not, you want to go with what the buyer says. And then the final thing is bandwidth. So I heard this, I don't know, somewhere in these internet streets, and I agree with it. I think it was a video expert that was saying most people just want to know what it looks like to work with you in your organization. So setting expectation around what that looks like. And what that has sounded like for me for decades is actually to just say, so I know what our process looks like. Can you let me know what your process looks like to get the agreement approved, to get onboarded, to get your team together, whatever that is? And they'll outline what it looks like. So, of course, I'm very familiar with what it looks like on my side. And I'm simply going to look for the proper touch points, right? So, how can we set this up so that they are not completely out of alignment? And we're not completely out of alignment, but at the end of the day, everyone gets an aligned process. And that could mean that you're going to need to do some out of the box thinking around, again, tools to use that could be easily adopted, a point person. Are you copying everybody on the team with updates? I can tell you that might not always be the best thing to do, but I know a lot of buyers do want that. And when I say that, that's just because if you come up with some bright idea in the middle of the night and you update the whole team, it does what I used to call spinning in circles. So now you've got one person saying, that's great, let me get to work, because we're all different personalities. Another person saying, I need to think about this strategically, right? So they're looking at it going, strategically, how would that work? And then the third person is saying, I'm just going to hold and sit back and wait. And you've got everyone doing different things at different times. So the bonus to this is you don't want people spinning in circles based on your engagement with them. You want things to be smooth and easy. You want communication to be as smooth and easy as possible. You also want to have a plan for when the communication is not smooth and easy. Does that mean you jump on a call? You go to the lead decision maker? Does it mean that you get everyone back in a room? What does that look like? Because we all know that we plan for things to go completely smooth, and sometimes they don't. So what does the plan look like? Don't create the plan when you are in the midst of things not going well. It's very hard to get people bought in and connected in and realigned when things take a left turn. It doesn't even have to be that like a really bad thing. It's just that something's not going the way you thought it would. If you have a plan for that slash or a cadence for that, that would be your best way. There are your three tips. I'm a fan, I'm a fan, I'm a fan. And I just wanted to come in and let you know that the road to success in B2B sales has been laid by many. So follow the crumbs. And at the end of the day, you will achieve your goal of not only building relationships and revenue, but also making a huge impact for your clients and making them be the rock star. Thanks for listening. Oh, don't forget, subscribe, follow, hit the bell. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is how do you surprise and delight your prospective buyer without setting the tone that everything you do is going to be completely surprising and delightful. Talk soon. Stay inspired.